Friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are again, back with the EVA podcast and a special series with Wholesale by Vels, and this is episode 3 with one of the co-founders, and the co-founder I'm talking about is Rinaldo. Careful not to say Ronaldo, people might get the wrong impression. Rinaldo Vels, who's the MD and founder of Wholesale by Vels and also co-founder now of CargoPilot. So, Rinaldo, what we want to do and what I'd like to talk to you about is the lovely terms that you started to come up with, and one in particular when we were discussing, which is, I think it's fantastic, digital density. And for me, that has quite a few meanings. But first of all, can I ask you, what do you mean by digital density?
So in my opinion, digital density has two meanings. First of all, so in what we do now with CargoPilot, it's all based on connections by APIs.
Yep.
And APIs in the new world, and also for the future with regards to the modern cargo distribution, the API is crucial to the success of everything.
Yep.
But digital density has two meanings. One, first of all, get as much as possible airlines, for example, connected.
Yep.
And create that value for our customers, and be there and look for also additional APIs in the future, which can also be, for example, for first mile, can also be for the last mile.
Yeah.
So that's where it starts.
So basically, you want to expand the offering, you want to expand the options, and that in turn makes it a more popular platform.
Yeah. So digital density is first of all, create the density globally, and take it from there. We have, for example, an airline in the Netherlands and an airline in the US, and they are connected. But we obviously want to connect more and more airlines. So that's digital density number one. Having said that, the interesting thing with an API is there's not a big change in using it between one station and another. So it's really valuable for us that an API can be reused.
Yep.
Definitely there are key differences, for example, the IATA number in a specific country, or a customer code with an airline, or a customer code with a trucking company, for example. Yep. These are the things which might be different.
Yep.
But having said that, an airline API, just to give an example, the Air France KLM API in the Netherlands is the same in Italy. Okay. So reuse it. And that's actually reusing is also creating digital density.
Yeah.
And that are, for me, two really valuable core differences. And then we're looking forward to it to establish more connections and create the density. And I'm absolutely confident that people are going to be interested to do that, and it will support us with CargoPilot, but it will also support our customers. And at the end, for an airline, it's really interesting to have actually one point of contact for an API with multiple destinations origins connected.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
And so far, the carriers that have come on board, they're very positive about this option, I'm sure, because it also spreads their services.
Definitely. One of the things is, first of all, we as Wholesale by Vels have the IATA license.
Yeah.
So we commit to consistency, reliability. We are acting according to the European Air Cargo Program in Europe, and airlines are definitely seeing that.
Yeah.
And that's also the reason why they are willing to support us with an API connectivity. And having said that, they also ask us, okay, what are you going to do, for example, in the future? One of the things to create the digital density is that we are already now ready to start 2 new countries with Wholesale by Vels.
Very good, nice.
One is going to be this year in Germany, the other one is going to be in Italy. And we can actually reuse the same APIs, different codes behind it, but at the end, it's the same API connectivity we use. So that's creating more value on one API.
Okay, brilliant. And then something that came to my mind when we obviously first exchanged the term was, if you were looking at digital density, it was, for me anyhow, it was, if you've got the digital capability and you've got certain AI interface as well, you'll start to be able to optimize those units or the space much, much better than there's ever been before, especially on the e-commerce side.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things, for example, what can happen is that we see that we have a lot of dense cargo, for example, in Frankfurt, and we have a lot of volumetric cargo in the Netherlands. Is it then smart to keep them separate if you want to optimize, for example, the units and create value for ourselves, but also for the airlines? And at the end, bottom line for the customer. Yeah, it's interesting to have the APIs, get the artificial intelligence behind it, and see what's moving where.
Yeah.
I actually foresee, to relate to the digital density, that we might have within a few months or maybe in a year's time, that we have a number of screens in the office, like an operational control center, seeing this is happening here, this is happening there, this is happening there, and what is smart.
Yeah.
And then artificial intelligence can become really crucial to future success.
Yeah, and the principle of mixing obviously dense with not dense isn't new. It's been around. It's been around, unfortunately, for as long as I've been in this industry.
That's
but I remember the old. Thank you very much. That's one to you. That's one to you, Rinaldo. I remember the old days, and depending which duty manager was on, the flights were optimised better or worse. And you'd have the same freighter, which it was the old 737 QC in those days. Yeah. And if Mr. X was on, you knew that you were going to have a certain tonnage. Mr. Y was on nowhere near the tonnage, extra fuel, all the things. Yeah. And when you go back to those, nobody really analysed and looked at why that was happening. Yeah. And the guy who wanted to optimise capacity was seen as a pain in the butt because he made everybody work harder. And you were mixing. He wouldn't let pallets be closed up. He wouldn't let shifts go early. He'd say, no, this is coming in. He'd be looking continually at booking lists. Well, now with all of that being digitised, you've got such a wonderful opportunity to really capitalise on it.
Absolutely.
For the airline.
And one of the things there is that it has been numerous times in the news, but who is better in building ULDs, a forwarder or a GHA? It's tricky. There's a grey line because the GHA is representing the airline, where the airline is saying you have to follow the strict rules and regulations. Also, this box.
Upright.
And well, the freight forwarder, there's a chance that he says, but we can turn it. It happens, and we've seen it often enough. But with artificial intelligence and also getting the knowledge, and this is also the point I want to make, it would be great if we could see, for example, in the future to get connectivities also with ground handling companies, so we can already provide them better information. And maybe it's at the end, in my opinion, it's the responsibility of the airline. But is the airline sometimes good enough to do that? And maybe it's also good if we say, for example, we are going to build our own ULDs, which we already do, and we say, okay, but this might be smart to do and influence the packing in the building. Then we can make serious changes. Yeah. And the big question mark is, do we need to send then the information to the GHA and search for better collaboration? Well, officially the services of the airline are contracted to a GHA and not to a wholesale company or a forwarder. So that's still.
I think you've touched on something that those elements need to change in the future because, as you said, and quite rightly so, the GHA are handling so many carriers, so many closeouts, they can't afford to always keep pallets waiting for the last shipments to come in. And equally, you've got no-shows and you've got late deliveries, you've got all those things that influence it, and then the poor GHA gets the blame for it. Yeah. But with better connectivity, and if they know that something has already been collected, picked up, it's on its way, and it's going to make a good base load, that allows them the opportunity to plan better. Yeah. And I think it's that's where it's such a shame that the GHA doesn't have those, whether you call them sub agreements or whatever, with the forwarders, because so much more can be done. And then you got in my opinion, the poor relation of the whole process, which is the trucking companies, who have poor old drivers sitting there waiting for 3, 4, 5 hours, either because OTP from the carrier isn't right, or there's something else happening in the process, and then they're out of their time, or they're not getting paid for the waiting time.
True. Yeah, I call it double trouble.
Yeah, it's
double trouble. Again, who's contracting who and where's the relationship? I must confess there are some certain good initiatives here at Amsterdam Airport, which I definitely support, but I sometimes see that there are more options there, and especially now with CargoPilot, which helps us a lot to get more insight. And also when we have the first and the last mile connected to a better level, we would be able to inform GHAs much better. And also, obviously, our trucking company who's tendering the cargo to the GHA, we can inform him better. We recently had a discussion, for example, that certain of our consolidations are already fixed and sorted and dusted on Friday midday. Why should we wait until Friday 11 o'clock? Well, there's a queue of maybe 3-4 hours to tender your cargo. Why don't we just say, hey, but we see consistency here based on our data analytics. Yeah. We have always our consolidations fixed, sorted and ready at 12 or 1 o'clock. Why don't we start driving already at 2 and be ahead of peak, or for the GHA, reduce the peak? Yeah, exactly. And these are definitely things where we want to work on.
Or give the GHA the option that they say, right, can you deliver now if you're ready? Yeah. Or you've got special slots, or even in the future, GHAs are going to do collections.
Yeah, but we need to confess, Chris, for many years, the famous trend during the week is known. Monday and Tuesday are busy for the imports. Thursday, Friday is always the challenge of the weekend, where you tender the cargo for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But it would also be good if, for example, GHA says, okay, this is our weekly schedule. This is where we see the peaks, like Google's doing, for example, in the shopping street. If they do that, then they can make a difference and actually help themselves, help the freight forwarding companies and the airlines to get better reliability to receive cargo and their on-time performances.
Yeah, no, exactly. And coming back to your point about can a GHA or a forwarder build a unit better, obviously with the BUPs and the slack pallets and things like that, they'll always say they do. And when it comes to packaging, I've been involved in a lot of instances where you speak to the forwarder and they say, but the shipper reuses the packaging, so sometimes it's not correctly. And we know from the documents, or we've already got a confirmation that we can rotate the boxes differently. All of those things are a little bit too much detail for the GHA and the carriage to be able to handle at the time. So there is a certain argument for it, I think. And if everybody joined up better, then fantastic.
Yeah. It's interesting actually about it. Boxes, if they've been reused, it's now in the Netherlands coming up that actually companies are showing these boxes being reused.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all part of sustainability and looking that you're doing the right thing and everything else.
And then you can probably turn the box upside down.
There you go. So coming back now to to your term. Yeah. Okay. What areas do you think that particular concept or either of the concepts are gonna help you with moving forward?
The most important thing is it's the combination of the two. When do we really foresee that the cargo is going to be available, and what are the pressure points for example, for GHA? Yeah. And where can we help each other to influence to become more reliable, cost saving due to waiting hours and stuff, and create efficiency and exchange data. And just by saying, okay, we know that we can submit already data to a GHA and the airline. Yeah. But maybe then say, okay, but we can already now pre-announce in a better way that we're going to be earlier than expected, because that's also what I've seen, for example, in the past with Martinair, where they said, okay, guys, deliver already on Thursday, because then we have some spare time to build whatever 20 units. Yeah. Just bring it in. I think if the GHAs in cooperation with the airlines are able to identify that and make it interactive and dynamic, it will be a huge game changer for everybody.
No, it's fantastic. And also, I'm assuming that your colleagues and the people that are working for you, they'll have their own dashboards which give them data, which gives them advanced notes, and they'll be able to, even if it has to be the old traditional way, they'll be able to pick up the phone to somebody at the GHA and say, look, we got this on hand, do you need it? Or there's ways of individuals or the personal touch still being available.
Yeah, and that's coming back also to CargoPilot. We said we expect and assume that there's 70 to 80% is going to be through the platform, 20% a little bit more is human interference. And I support human interference because the system is also made by people. Yeah. Also the business rules where you're talking about with Mike, for example. It's important that there's a human behind it, and it's the same for the GHA. It's not just a ground handling company. There are people working there.
Exactly, and it's all working together. And Mike referred to it in episode 2 about the 80%. So, Rinaldo, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It was a good talk.
So we got one more episode, which is where we bring the two of you back together and we talk about the future.
Are we allowed to sit next
You're
together?
You're allowed to be as close as you can.
Oh, wonderful, good stuff.
And I'm pretty sure it won't dispel the fact that people will still think you're father and son.
There we go.
But a nice touch. Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate.
Appreciate it. Thank you.